God, prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and true. With thanksgiving, I'll be a living sanctuary for you. Ve'asu li mikdash v'shachanti betocham va'anachnu nevarech Yah me'ata ve'ad olam. Oh God, prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and true. With thanksgiving, I'll be a living sanctuary for you. Shabbat Shalom. Thanks for
Shabbat
saving
Shalom,
me.
Cantor Shaket. Shabbat Shalom, Jonah's family and friends. Here in the sanctuary to celebrate this wonderful milestone. Shabbat Shalom to all of you on Zoom and to those of you who are watching through our live stream. We are so pleased you're here with us to celebrate Shabbat and also to celebrate a very joyful occasion in the Phillips family as Jonah becomes Bar Mitzvah. As you can imagine, he's going to be leading us in worship, inviting you to read and sing with him, reading from the Torah and sharing his own reflections. We hope that not only those of us here in the sanctuary, but everyone will participate. We can feel your participation through the e-waves, so make sure you're with us. We hope you'll follow and sing even at home. And you're going to help us with that?
Sure. So all of you here in the sanctuary have under your chairs the prayer book called Mishkan Tefillah, our Reform Movement's prayer book. And if you're following on Zoom, we might be able to put the link to the prayer book that you can click on, and will open up in a separate window, and you can follow that way. And if you're watching on our streaming system on our website, above the player window is an icon that says Mishkan Tefillah prayer book. Feel free to click on that. That way you all can follow along home or here in the sanctuary with Jonah and help us all make a big community for this service and this simcha.
And before we turn to the prayer book and before we invite Jonah to step up into his role, it's my pleasure to invite his parents to take a private moment. I'd like to invite Jen and Fred to stand with Jonah as they take a moment. This is our custom that parents bless their child before the moment of Bar Mitzvah. And as your family takes a private moment, we reflect with music on the theme of the blessing that's coming to us today.
To a land that I will show you. Lech lecha, to a place you do not know. Lechi lach, on your journey I will bless you, and you shall be a blessing. You shall be a blessing. You shall be a blessing. Lechi lach. The first part of our service this morning, called the Shema and its blessings, begins in your prayer book on page 195. Page 195, we rise for the Baruch Hu, our call to worship. Yai lai lai, yai lai lai lai, yai lai 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 lai, yai lai lai, yai lai lai lai, yai lai lai, yai lai lai lai, yai lai 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 lai, yai lai 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 lai, yai lai 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 lai. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed. Let's read together the first paragraph of the Yotzer Or on page 195. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam Yotzer Or Uvorei Choshech Osei Shalom Uvorei Et HaKol Hameir La'aretz V'ladarim Alecha Berachamim Uvtuvo Mechadesh B'chol Yom Tamid Ma'aseh V'Reishit. At the bottom of that page is the text Ur Chadash Al Tzion Ta'ir, a new light has shining upon Zion. We'll sing these words. It is the Shabbat of Yom HaAtzmaut, the Shabbat of remembering Israel's independence, and we think of that as we sing these words, Or Chadash. Yai-da-dai-dai-dai, yai-da-dai-dai-dai, yai-da-dai-dai-dai-dai, yai-da-dai-dai-dai, yai-da-dai-dai-dai, yai-da-dai-dai-dai-dai. Or Chadash, Or Chadash, Or Chadash, Al Tzion Ta'ir, Al Tzion Ta'ir. Shine a new light, a light upon Israel. Shine that light on our souls. Shine a new light on our generation, and we will shine that light for all to know. Or Chadash, Or Chadash, Or Chadash, Al Tzion Ta'ir, Al Tzion Ta'ir. Or Chadash, Or Chadash, Or Chadash, Al Tzion Ta'ir, Al Tzion Ta'ir. V'nizkei kulanu mehera le'oro. Baruch Atah Adonai Yotzer HaMeorot. Yai-da-dai-dai-dai, yai-da-dai-dai-dai, yai-da-dai-dai-dai-dai, yai-da-dai-dai-dai, yai-da-dai-dai-dai, yai-da-dai-dai-dai-dai. We join together now on page 200 in the words of our people, the Shema. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. May be seated.
Join us on page 201 as we chant the words of V'ahavta together.
Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavecha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol meodecha ve'hayu ha'devarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom alevavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam b'shivtecha b'veitecha uv'lechtecha v'derech uv'shokbecha uv'kumecha ukshartam le'ot al yadecha והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו, ועשיתם את כל מצותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
And from the V'ahavta, we make our way to another much-loved prayer and song, Mi Chamocha. It is the song of our redemption. We sang it when we were freed from Egypt, but we sing it every single day, every single week, to remind ourselves there is so much more to do, that we must continue to work for a better world. And on page 203, we have a poem that leads us into this much-loved song. Sing the song of men and women joined in understanding and respect, the song of God's miracles, an earth protected and cherished, a gift for our children and the generations to come. The song of a land once ravished by war, now quiet and content, her soldiers home to leave no more. The song of a world redeemed, the song of peace. On the next page.
Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar ba'kodesh, norah tehilot osef eleh, norah tehilot osef eleh. Shira chadasha shibechu geolim, לשמך על שפת הים, יחד כולם הודו, והמלכו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. יאי לי, יאי לי, 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 יאי לי, 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 יאי לי, יאי לי, 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 יאי לי, 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 לי. So Yisrael, קומה בעזרת ישראל, ופדחנו מך יהודה וישראל, גואלנו אדוני צבאות שמו, קדוש ישראל. ברוך אתה אדוני, גאל ישראל. Jonah, we invite you now to lead us in the next portion of our service. The tefillah begins on page 205.
We continue with the tefillah on page 205. Please join me as we chant the prayers on the next 3 pages together. Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi agi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu ve'Elokei avotenu ve'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzhak, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, ve'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanorah, El Elyon, Gomel Hasadim Tovim, Vekonei Hakol, Vizacher Haste Avot V'imahot, Umidagi Nevanehem Leman Shemo Ve'achava Melech Ozer Umoshiach Umagin Baruch Atah Adonai Magen Avraham Ve'ezrat Sarah. Source of all being, we turn to you as did our people in ancient days. They beheld you in the heavens, they felt you in their hearts, they sought you in their lives. Their quest is ours. Together, help us to see the wonder of being. Give us the courage to search for truth. Teach us the path to a better life. So shall we, by our lives and our labors, bring nearer the world we envision, one of justice, freedom, and peace. We continue together on the next page with Gevurot. Ata gibor le'olam Adonai, mechaye hakol, ata rav lehoshia, morid hata, mehalkel hayim behesed, mechaye hakol berahamim rabim. Somech noflim verofe holim, umatir asurim, umechayem emunato, lishenei afar. Michamocha ba'al gevurot, umido melach, melech memid, umechayeh, umatmiah Yeshua, v'ne'eman ata lechahayot hakol, baruch ata Adonai, mechayeh hakol. We continue with the Kedushah on page 208.
נקדש את שמך בעולם, כשם שמקדישים אותו, בשמי מרום, בשמי מרום. ככתוב על יד נביאך, וכרזל זה ואמר, קדוש, 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 אדוני צבאות, מלוך כל הארץ כבודו. אדיר אדירנו, אדוני אדוננו, מאדיר שמך בכל הארץ. ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו. אחד הוא אלוהינו, הוא אבינו מלכנו, מושיענו והוא ישמיענו ברחמיו לעיני כל חי. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, ימלוך אדוני לעולם, אלוהי ציון לדור ודור, הללויה. לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור נגיד גולך, לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור נגיד גולך, ולנצח נצחים, ולנצח נצחים, קדושתך נקדיש. ולנצח נצחים, ולנצח נצחים, קדושתך נקדיש. לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור נגיד גולך, לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור נגיד גואלך, ושבחך אלוהינו מפינו לא ימוש, לעולם לעולם ועד. ושבחך אלוהינו מפינו לא ימוש, לעולם לעולם ועד. לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור נגיד גואלך, לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור נגיד גואלך. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
Page 210. To all generations we will make known your greatness, and to all eternity proclaim your holiness. Your praise, O God, shall never depart from our lips. Blessed are you, Adonai, the holy God. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el hakadosh.
Amen.
Please be seated. We continue with the singing of Yismehu on page 211.
ישמחו ומלכותך, שומרי 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 שבת וקוראי עונג שבת. ישמחו ומלכותך, שומרי 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 שבת וקוראי עונג שבת. המקדשי מקדשי שבי שבת, כולם יספרו ויתענגו מטובך השבת. ישמחו ומלכותך, שומרי 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 שבת וקוראי עונג שבת. ישמחו ומלכותך, שומרי 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 שבת וקוראי עונג שבת. והשביעי רצית בו וקידשתו, חמדת ימים אותו קראת, זכר מעשה בראשית שבת. ישמחו ומלכותך, שומרי 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 שבת וקוראי עונג שבת. ישמחו ומלכותך, שומרי 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 שבת וקוראי עונג שבת.
Those who keep Shabbat by calling it a delight will rejoice in your realm. The people that hallow Shabbat will delight in your goodness. For being pleased with the seventh day, you hallowed it as the most precious of days, drawing our attention to the work of creation. Please join me in singing Kadshenu. Eloheinu, Elohei Avoteinu, Ve'imotenu, Retzei v'imnuchatenu. Kadishenu b'mitzvotecha, retain helkenu b'toratecha. Sabe'enu mituvecha, v'samheinu b'shuatecha. Ritaher libenu, le'ovdecha be'emet. V'chan hilenu, Adonai Eloheinu. Uvratzon Shabbat Kodshecha V'anuchu v'Yisrael Mekadeshei Shemecha Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat.
Beautiful, beautiful job, Jonah. Thank you so much for leading that part of the service. We just sang some beautiful songs celebrating Shabbat, and now on page 212, a poetic type prayer. I hope you will join me responsively by paragraph on page 212. On this Shabbat day, as you graciously receive our prayers, help us to hear your call. Grant us enough health to fulfill our duties and the compassion we need to attend to others. Teach us humility that we may perceive our own faults, and grant us the wisdom to be forgiving of others. Give us the courage to be true to our highest selves and the charity to see the best in those around us. Give us patience enough not to become discouraged, hope enough to overcome all fears for the future, and faith enough to know your presence. O source of blessing, look with favor upon us. May our offerings be acceptable to you. We praise you, Adonai, whom alone we serve in reverence. Baruch atah Adonai, she'otcha levadacha v'yira na'avod. And now won't you join me on page 216 as we're led in song by our cantor in the beautiful words of peace, Sim Shalom.
Sim Shalom Tova Uvracha Chen v'chesed v'rachamim Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael Amecha Sim Shalom Tova Uvracha Chen v'chesed v'rachamim Aleinu, Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol Yisrael Amecha.
And after that beautiful song of peace, we take a peaceful moment for our own private, our own personal prayers.
Ose shalom, shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru amen. Ose shalom, shalom bimromav, Ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru amen. Ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael amen. Shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru amen. Ve'al kol Yisrael Well, now, everyone, we've come to the most important part of our service this morning, the service for the reading of the Torah, where, Jonah, you'll be reading today from the book of Leviticus, and in just a few moments, you'll let us know what your Torah portion is all about that you'll be reading. The portion has special ceremony. You'll be handed a Torah in just a few moments from your parents, taking on this tradition, this heritage of Torah that's passed down from the generations before you. And so we have in the congregation your grandparents that are here, Leonard Simon and Gail Ann Simon, mazel tov to you, along with your grandparents Arthur Phillips and Nicole Hord. Welcome to you, and mazel tov, glad you're here in the sanctuary with us. And we also have a grandmother who's in Albuquerque on Zoom. Let's see if we can look at the monitor and see if we can say hi to Marlene Phillips. She's not here. Okay, so hopefully she'll be watching on the stream from the recording, Jonah, so let's all just wave to her right now and just make sure that she knows that we're thinking about her. Great, excellent. We're going to invite the grandparents that are here with us in the sanctuary to stand with Jonah, with you and your parents, as we pass down the Torah from you. So I'd like everyone to rise. We are on page 244 as we invite Jen to take our Carpathian Torah and for all of the family to line up for the passing of that Torah. Ein kamocha va'Elohim Adonai, ve'ein kemasecha. Malechutecha, malechut kol olamim, u'memshaltecha bechol tor v'tor.
Jonah, as you receive this Torah, remember its teachings, its wisdom, and its history. Let it guide you this day and all days. As you embrace it, so may you embrace what it has meant for the Jewish people over the generations. Judaism is history and hope, learning and laughter. We pray that the story of the Jewish people continues brightly with you as you grow as a person and as a Jew. May you embrace the Torah your whole life.
And Jonah, as you hold that Torah, won't you join us as we sing the words of the Shema together? Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Eloheinu Gadol Adonenu Kadosh. Jonah, you can hand the Torah back to your mom. Jen, you can place it back on its stand as we invite everyone to be seated. And Jonah, you prepare the Torah reading, the regular Torah that you'll be reading from. Lecha Adonai hagedula ve'hagevura ve'hatiferet ve'hanetzach ve'hachol ki chol b'shamayim u'va'aretz ki chol b'shamayim u'va'aretz lecha Adonai הממלכה והמתנשא לך לראש. And now, Jonah, won't you tell us what your Torah portion's about?
Yes, I will. The Torah portion for this Shabbat that I will be reading is called Tazria Metzora. It comes from the book of Leviticus, and my Hebrew reading begins with chapter 13, verse 29. In this portion, we read about the Israelites who break out with skin ailments, which we think might have been leprosy. Those who had the disease are quarantined and kept out of the community.
And Jonah, for your first aliyah to the Torah, we have there standing with you your grandparents Leonard Simon and Gail Ann Simon. Ya'amdu ha'olim la aliyah Torah. Can lead us in the blessings.
Baruch Hu et Adonai Hamvarach.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Adonai Hamvarach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam, asher bachar banu mikol hamim, v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Ve'ish o isha ki hiet vo naga berosh o v'zakan. V'ra'ah hakohen et hanega. V'hine mar'ehu amok min ha'or. Uvo se'ar tahov dak. V'timei oto hakohen neteku tzarat harosh o hazakan hu. V'hir'eh hakohen et nega hanetek. V'hine ein mar'ehu amok min ha'or. V'se'ar shahor ein bo. V'skir hakohen et nega hanetek shivat yamim.
Beautiful job, Jonah.
Thank you.
Leonard and Galeanne, the blessing after.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam, asher natan lanu Torah emet, v'chayei olam natan b'tokeinu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Yashakak to you. You guys can have a seat now. And now, Jonah, for your second aliyah, we're going to invite your dad along with your grandfather, Arthur Phillips. So, Fred, maybe you can bring your dad up to the pulpit for the blessing for the second aliyah. Ya'amdu ha'olim la'aliyah la'torah. The second aliyah is Leviticus chapter 13, starting at verse 32.
Baruch et Adonai Hambarach.
Baruch Adonai Hambarach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hambarach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Vera'ah hakohen et hanega bayom hashavi'i, v'hine lo fasa hanetek, v'lo hayavo se'ar tahov, umar'eh hanetek ein amok min ha'or, v'hikala et hanetek lo yigalea, v'hiskir hakohen et hanetek shivat yamim shenid. Vera'ah hakohen et hanetek bayom hashvi'i, v'hine lo fasa hanetek ba'or, umar'ehu einenu amok min ha'or, v'te'ar oto hakohen v'hibes begada v'tacher.
Beautiful job, Jonah. Now your dad and your grandfather can lead us in the blessing after.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet, v'chayei olam nata b'tocheinu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Yashakach. Beautiful job. And Arthur, you can have a seat. And now, Jonah, for the third aliyah, now we get to call you by your Hebrew name for the first time as a bar mitzvah, and then you'll lead us in the blessings. Ya'amod, 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 Habachor, Habar Mitzvah, Yonah Reuven, Ben Ephraim, V'chaya Rachel, Alei Torah, Chazak.
Baruch et Adonai Hamavorah.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Havarach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bahar banu michol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Ve'im pasa yifseh hanetek ba'or, ahare tahorato. Vera'ahu hakohen v'hine pasa hanetek ba'or, lo yivaker hakohen, v'se'ar hatzahov tamehu, ve'im be'enav amad hanetek, v'se'ar shahor tzamach bo, nirpa hanetek tahor hu, v'tiharo hakohen. Ve'ish o isha ki hieh ve'or besaram beharot leot levanot bohak hu parach ba'or tahor hu.
There you go. Good job. And the blessing after?
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'hayeh olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Yashikach to you, Jonah. And Jonah, I just got word that your grandmother in Albuquerque is actually on Zoom. And so you can see her on the screen. I think we're going to ask Marlene Phillips to wave to us from our Zoom. Let's see if we can see her. Marlene, if you can hear us, wave to us. Okay. She's there, I'm told. But we're going to now, Jonah, invite your brother Jacob to come up along with your cousins Daniel and Micah to help dress the Torah. So we invite them to come up to help Jonah, and we invite everyone to please rise. V'zot haTorah asher sam Moshe lifnei bnei Yisrael al pi Adonai beyad Moshe. May be seated. And Jonah, let us hear your words this morning now.
Good afternoon. As all of you know, COVID has been a really big issue for millions of families in the United States alone. The ways people have been dealing with it are really interesting to me. More specifically, what it means to be clean in this day and age. My Torah portion is about being clean and being pronounced clean or unclean by the priest after you've had an illness. It is about how the priest can determine if someone is pure or impure by looking at an infection in the scalp or beard. It is a little hard to write about, but I thought with COVID going on right now, it is actually really important to know what it means to be pure or impure. A couple things I found really interesting about my portion were that out of all people, the priest was the entity to pronounce you pure. Not a doctor or a parent or a teacher, the priest. Another thing I found cool was that being pure doesn't always mean talking about what was on the outside, but the inside as well. The reason I bring these 2 points up specifically is because they are very much linked. Being pure means being in a mental state to pray or be in God's presence, not just being rid of an illness. I think people often overlook being pure on the inside and focus more on appearances on the outside. This can hurt people in many ways. If someone is judged by their unclean outside, you may never get to see the good inside. And if someone looks good on the outside, but is struggling on the inside, they might not get the help that they need. In my Torah portion, what would happen to someone after they were pronounced impure was not mentioned, so I decided to do a little bit of research. These people would be exiled for a certain amount of time. After that, most of the time, the priest would do another inspection of the infection to then make the final call on whether the person was pure or impure. This also made me think of COVID and how if someone tests positive, they have to quarantine for a certain amount of time before they are tested again. People would be exiled because they were contagious or not fit to be around other people, and this is the same protocol now. Even though there are all of these minor similarities, there's one big one between my portion and COVID, or the things I just talked about. The main reason people were worried about someone in their community being sick was because it meant them and their illness could scare away God or be a danger to them when praying. Now, we care because people want to go back to work and school and just be able to see each other again. This is more or less the same thing, because while people aren't afraid still of scaring God away when praying, they aren't necessarily concerned about the person's mental health either. We care mostly because we want to return to our regular lives. I agree with a lot of what my portion has to say about what to do when you get an illness, but some things I think should be added. For example, what happens if an illness someone has didn't go away? The solution for this was not to get them medical help or comfort them. What people would do is banish this person for having an illness they could not control. Not forever, but for a certain period of time in which the individual infected would have to figure out how to deal with their illness. Another thing I don't necessarily disagree with, but I think should be added on to, is the fact that doctors do not come up once throughout my whole portion. I understand my portion is obviously a religious way of looking at things, but you would think a doctor would be incorporated somehow at some point. For if there was no cure for an illness provided by the priest, the individual infected would be on their own. One more thing I don't quite understand is why in my portion, the person with the condition would be sent away, but not forever. It was important that they were brought back into the community, at least partially at some point. Why was this? Why were they not allowed with the rest of society for so long, but were let back in at some point, even if they still had the affliction? Or were they not allowed to do most things once they were allowed back? My portion leaves some questions unanswered, so it leaves you to answer some questions yourself, which is really quite interesting to think about. I mean, what would you do if you have an illness that you couldn't control, and you were sent away to never know if or when you would be able to return to your friends and family? I have struggled with thinking about this portion, and having questions unanswered is sometimes really thought-provoking, and that's always good. This past year has been a test for all of us on how we deal with people getting sick with a highly contagious virus. We did this by quarantining, getting tested periodically, and staying away from people if we got sick. Some people I would like to thank for helping me get through this awful test, for which there was no studying, are of course my parents, my grandparents, my cousins, my brother, and most of all, my dog. More specifically, for my Bar Mitzvah, I'd like to thank my great tutor, the wonderful clergy, and all my friends who kept me laughing. Thank you all, and I guarantee you I would have failed the test without you guys. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, and Jonah, Mazal Tov, congratulations. I think you deserve to sit down. You have done so much today. This gentleman needs to rest. You're done, Noah. Take a deep... You're done, Jonah. I have been all over the place today. Where did that come from? It's not even a Noah in the congregation. Anyway, Jonah, you have achieved so much today, and let me be the first of many people here in the sanctuary to say congratulations to you for leading us in worship beautifully, for chanting what is actually the most obscure and least favorite Torah portion. I'm sorry that it has to land on one person, and it landed on you this year. But I will say that having struggled with all of our B'nai Mitzvah students for years to make sense of Tazria and Metzora, this year it really, it clicked for us in a totally new way. And I really am grateful to you, Jonah, for capturing that, looking at this Torah portion, which is really, in so many ways, as you pointed out, so antiquated and not connected to our lives, and finding connections. I mean, COVID came in and gave us those connections naturally, but what you did was you looked into it and you said, what are other messages that we can take away here? How can we go beyond just the surface issue of contagion and illness and community safety and health, and find deeper meanings? And you did that so beautifully. This is not an easy Torah portion. As you go forward in your lives, when you happen upon people who say like, oh yeah, my bar mitzvah, and you say, I have Tazria Metzora, people are going to be like, so sorry. But look at what you did with this. You did a beautiful job of really bringing it into today's world. And you talked about the priests, of course, and in ancient times, the people who were service leaders and all that kind of stuff were priests, and now they're cantors and rabbis. And also, I'm not sure that they actually even had people that they called doctors, and so they really looked to kind of the highest official to get involved here. I want to point out something that's in the portion that you read that I really think is meaningful, and it nicely is like an additional piece to the beautiful words you already said, and that is that in this Torah portion, once this priest determines that a person has recovered from this virus that they were so worried would be contagious and all that kind of stuff, it is the priest himself who goes out to the fringes of the camp, which is where that person was isolated, and walks that individual back in. The priest himself goes and helps this person come back into society. I think this is a great message for all of us. The idea that people who have authority or people who are involved in leadership have an obligation to help others be part of the community again. To the point that the priest actually, let me hold your hand. Let me bring you back into the society. Now, today we don't have priests anymore. Okay, there's just us. And even though the cantor and the rabbi are both ordained, really, we're all even, we're all equal. And if this Torah portion of old, could be translated to today, I think one of the other pieces that I want to bring into our world today is the importance of all of us, especially those people who have authority, power, or leadership, ensuring that anyone who has been sent to the fringe of society for any reason is accompanied back in. That, we don't just help everybody to get through COVID, which is, our leprosy of today, right? We don't just, oh, here are the guidelines for you. This says, it's more than that. We've got to, once a person is through with whatever they've struggled with, we've got to help them feel whole and be welcomed and seen as equals in society. And that's what this Torah portion also says to me, in addition to, Jonah, your beautiful words. Thank you for bringing meaning to this difficult Torah portion. Thank you for your leadership today, our service, our Torah, your words. In many ways, you have brought blessing upon us, and we hope that as you go forward, thinking about others, thinking about what's inside of them and yourself, and what's on the outside, that you will bring many blessings to the people you care about, your friends, your family, people who you even don't know, by the kindness that you'll bring to relationships and to our community, that you'll make a difference and be a blessing. Cantor Shakit and I want to thank you, Jonah, for the blessing you have been today, and to bestow a blessing upon you as you go forward. We're so glad that you are surrounded by family, so we invite your mom and dad, your brother Jacob, your sister Kimberly, her husband Tom, to come forward to the edge of the bima and to join us here as we bestow a blessing on Jonah. So please come forward. Yep, all of you guys. You'll stand here at the edge of the steps facing the ark. We will share in a blessing for Jonah in the presence of all of you, the immediate family.
Yivarechecha Adonai ve'yishmerecha.
Jonah, may God bless you and keep you.
Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'chuneka.
Jonah, as you have shone so beautifully upon us today, may God continue to shine upon you on the journeys that are ahead.
Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha.
And may God grant you all the things that you want, that you need, that you deserve, but especially shalom, peace. A peace that lives inside of you, a peace that you share with this lovely family, a peace that you, through your gifts, bring into our world. Amen.
Amen. Stay here for a song, Jonah. Stay here for one song. Taking your place in an enduring line, This is the day that you stood up to say, our tradition is mine. You have now read the Torah. It's been passed on to you. It's our law and our story, but each telling is new. It is said we stood at Sinai, and today you know you're there. You're the promise of a people, a blessing and a prayer. Lahalechet bidrachav, lishmor mitzvotav, kol hayamim. May you walk in God's ways, and may all of your days be blessings. It is said we stood at Sinai, and today you know you're there. You're the promise of a people, a blessing and a prayer. You're the promise of a people, a blessing and a prayer. And now I invite you all to return to your seats, but not to sit, as we'll invite everyone else in the sanctuary to rise as we turn in our concluding prayers to page 282 and join together in the chanting of Aleinu, page 282. Aleinu l'shabeach ladon hakol, latet gedula liotzer breshit, she'u notesh shamayim v'yoser aretz, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינת עוזו בגובהי מרומים, הוא אלוהינו אין עוד. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד. ושמו אחד.
And won't you please remain standing as we embrace a moment of memory, as we prepare to recite Kaddish Yatom, the mourner's Kaddish. I'm sure there are many people in the wider circle of your family who you wish could be present with you, Jonah, today. We think of all of them, you think of them, and you carry them with you, of course. We also think about the members of our congregational family whose yahrzeits are recited on this Shabbat. And we join the mourners who are here or on our live stream or on Zoom as we recite the Kaddish together. It's on page 294, page 294. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah, v'yalmad divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon v'yomechon v'chaye d'chol beit Yisrael, v'agala v'izman kari v'imru amen. Yehi shmei rabbah mevarach leolam omei omaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yithadar v'yithale v'yithalal shemei d'kudisha birchu leolam mimkol birchata v'shirata tush bechata v'nechemata da'al miran ba'alma v'imeru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom bimromav hu ya'aseh shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. May the source of peace send peace and comfort and strength and love to everyone who is mourning, to everyone who is grieving here and everywhere. And let us say, Amen. Won't you please be seated?
Jonah, we have some presentations for you. First of all, Mazel Tov on doing such a great job leading our service today and on all the work that you've done to put into this moment in time. We have some things to mark the occasion. One is a certificate for you that's made by a member of our congregation, and I encourage you to put this up in your room and remember it. Remember this day when you look at this certificate. It's signed by Rabbi Schwarzman and myself, and on behalf of a member of our congregation. And inside the bag are also some other things: a prayer book, a home prayer book from the women of TRS. Our women's group who provide this opportunity for you to have a book of prayers for your life. And then there also are gift certificates. One is from NIFTY, the North American Federation of Temple Youth, that is good towards good towards travel in Israel during your high school years, along with a gift certificate from Tristy, our own youth group, and a Kiddush cup from the clergy, as well as a travel mug from Tristy. So I hope that you take all these things and put them in your Jewish library, and as you start to begin this next stage in your Jewish adulthood. Again, Mazel Tov to you. Mazel Tov to your parents and your brother and all of those people, family and friends here in the sanctuary and on Zoom and watching on streaming. For those of you who are on Zoom, the family would love to chat with you in just a few moments. They'll be able to see you as they go into another room, so please stay on the Zoom call, and in just a few moments they will be with you so you can talk with them and wish Mazel Tov to Jonah. And our closing song now is found on page 339, in your prayer books. Please rise and join us in Hava Nashira at the bottom of the page and remain standing for the final benediction. Hava, Hava Nashira, Shir Hallelujah, Shir Hallelujah. 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 Hava.
Inspired by Jonah's words and actions today, may we go forward to make the world a better place, to help one another, to be part in full of every society. May we be there for one another. May we care about one another. And may tomorrow be a brighter day. Shabbat Shalom.